All right, everybody, we are here for Jesse against Caleb. We're gonna Jesse on the bottom of your screen. It looks like I believe Jesse has won the die roll. From what I can tell, a relatively good 7 card hand. Caleb taking a mulligan to 6. And what do you think about this opening hand for Jesse?
I think it's excellent, right? Like you have Grief, you have the Undying effect. You just scam Grief on turn one, discard two best cards from Caleb's hand, and Caleb already mulliganed down to 6 cards, minus 2 cards goes to 4, so it's effectively starting from like 4 cards and almost no life total. So I like Jesse's position so far.
Right, exactly. Now, if you're in Jesse's position, which 2 cards you're taking with the grief here? My instinct was Shieldred plus Ballista, but you might not want to leave Jesse with the Cauldron.
We can also just count, right? How many damages will this Grief deal before the shoulder even gets onto the battlefield? And it's gonna be many attacks. So at this point, the shoulder is like, is it even getting cast in time? Also, there's the
Yeah,
Fotsy. So of course, you leave the most expensive cards in Jesse's hand, and you strike the cheapest one, so that there is no early plays from Caleb, and then you Fotsy's away the shield red when the time comes, while
exactly.
pressuring the life total.
Yeah, and Jesse picked up an Orcish Bowmaster here, and with the information that Jesse has, probably doesn't even need to fire off that Thoughtseize now. Can just go ahead and maybe deploy the Bowmaster and save the Thoughtseize for a follow up. I think one of the cards that maybe Jesse is most concerned with at this point is probably Grist, but with Caleb only having one land, can't deploy that next turn, so you can even save the Thoughtseize and maybe get one more draw step or one more look at a Grist.
Exactly, exactly. So you're gonna see Bowmaster right now, then you get to untap, you play your Fotsies, you keep up your Undying Evil for the rest of the game. So even if a removal spell or opposing Bowmaster happens, then you can interact against that.
Exactly, exactly. Caleb, go ahead and picked up a blooming marsh here. Now, let's talk about this. What exactly does a winning position look like for Caleb? I mean, we're gonna let's assume, for the sake of argument, that Caleb could demonic tutor or vampiric tutor 3 times in a row. What kind of draws is Caleb looking for to get back into this game, if any?
Well, with that knowledge of Jesse's hand, it's a little bit hard to imagine a series of draws that gets Caleb back there. So it's a pretty rough position to be in. Orcish Bowmasters would have been good if not for the Undying Evil that is going to just reverse Uno card the Bowmasters back at Caleb if he draws them and plays them. So I don't see much. As you said, Grease plus make it token, but you still take 4-5 damage. Okay, here's the
Yeah,
Bowmaster, and well, probably the thing that I described is gonna happen.
right, exactly. We're gonna see Bowmaster on Bowmaster action. Jesse likely gonna Undying Evil the Bowmaster. That's gonna come back, clear Caleb's Bowmaster. And with that terminate drawn, I have to, there probably wasn't any outs anyways, but that one likely will probably steal it up. I guess
Mm-hmm.
the question here is, do you Undying Evil the Bowmaster, or do you just save it for the grief? You probably still Undying Evil the Bowmaster.
Yeah, you're undying the Bowmaster you deal. Okay, we're targeting the Grief. Interesting
Triple
play from
block.
Caleb. It makes sense. Yeah, so you're trying to double block and deal with the Grief. It still backfires when there is an Undying Evil.
Right. Yeah, we could have even use the terminate there, but it does make sense to get the use out of the Undying Evil while you still can. And yeah, I mean, just there's really no sequence of draws here from Caleb, given that we're at 5 and no spells in hand. Not really anything that can get us out of this.
Yeah, Terminate, I believe, just absolutely locks it down. And another Blooming Marsh. I have to say that draw steps were not too kind for Caleb.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing about scam. It's when you mulligan to 6, you get double grief. Once that happens, it's really hard to come back from that.
Exactly. Once that happens, you never draw a good card ever in a game. That's what
Speaking from
happened.
experience.
Yeah. Like sometimes people mention the Fotsy's bag or whatnot, but as you see, just blooming marshes off the top from Caleb.
So it's the scam bug now. I see.
Yeah, the scam back.
Looking at sideboarding here, we already got a plan in mind. We see the ley lines coming in, Shieldred, Terminate, Pithing Needle, and it looked like Ragavan, Blood Moon. Interesting that Bowmasters is coming out because Caleb does have his own copies. Are you surprised to see that happen from Jesse's side?
Yeah, it's interesting. There is, Bowmaster is not necessarily the best against Yawgmoth himself. It is a one toughness creature, after all, even if you do get an extra ping. And it makes sense. It makes sense to cut down the Bowmasters, just rely on your Furies as a removal using. You've got to make the space for Leyline of the Void somehow, I guess. One card that really surprised me from Caleb's deck is just go for the throw. That's like not a removal spell that you often see, but I guess it is a very functional card that can deal with a Fury or a Grief that's been scammed into play on turn one. So
Yeah. No, I think that makes a ton of sense. And even, in the games that go a little bit longer, it's still something that can kill a Shieldred down the road, and that could be a big problem for Caleb here. Looks like Caleb has kept a couple of Gris and a Mana Dork, not the worst hand. And Jesse we got a Leyline of Thoughtseize and a Voidwalker. So both players having excellent hands here.
yeah, so today we are 3 out of 3 opening hand original 7 Leyline when it's been sideboarded so far. So
Good point. Good point. What about drawing Leyline for your first draw step? I think we're 1 for 3 then.
1 for 3, yeah, so far.
Thoughtseize here from Jesse. What are we thinking about taking here? My guess is probably Wall of Roots, but I guess maybe Jesse's thinking about drawing a second Thoughtseize, and maybe you can try to take both Gris.
Yeah, or a Grief that would let you discard the Grease. On the other hand, if you take the wall, then if there's no play from Caleb, then you get to play your Voidwalker, which is going to attack the Grist over 2 turns with the help of the second Voidwalker, so you eventually deal with the Grist. Bowmaster an excellent draw for Caleb, though. Pretty good way to spend mana on his turn, too.
Yeah, and it kind of works out perfectly against the Voidwalker, right? Jesse's going to go ahead and slam this. Caleb probably goes end step Bowmaster, untap Grist, minus, sack the token, kill a Dothy, and it kind of just like a perfect sequence here for Caleb.
Also, a massive play on Jesse's end here, playing a fetch land over a swamp just to deck thin. So just
Love
the
it.
tiny edges, yeah,
The tiny, tiny edges.
exactly.
Got a Hapatra. Yeah, and that's the nice thing about Caleb having 2 Gris is you don't really necessarily care if the first one dies. Like you want to aggressively minus here just to snap off the Voidwalker. And even if Kanister has, say, a Bowmaster or a Bolt, it's not that big of a deal because you just have the backup one.
Jesse, you said that Canister would have a bolt, but I am not the one playing the game. I am in fact
My
commentating over it
apologies.
with you.
Misspoke.
But
Well,
yeah,
sometimes you do have the Bolt. I guess not in your deck today, but
yeah, no balls for me today. So certainly it made sense to trade for the Voidwalker, as it is, either way, whether you want it or not, Greece is gonna trade for it. So I guess you might do it on your own terms.
you here, I imagine just the Patra. I was thinking maybe, yeah, you don't really need to go for the second Grist here because
Yeah,
Jesse's likely going to spend a turn just attacking it anyways.
and that play would get blown out so hard by the Undying Evil, which we see, and Caleb just probably has a hunch about.
Yeah, there's so many of those type of effects. You kind of just have to at least do the best of to the best of your ability, play around them at all times if you can afford to. This terminate. I'm not sure that we need to main phase this now. You could probably just wait on it.
You could, yeah, you are opening maybe a possible Chord of Calling otherwise. You don't really want to get hit by Hapatra because then Hapatra puts a counter on the Voidwalker. That's pretty solid play. You get a snake, so
Yeah.
probably going to see the Terminate being cast.
Yeah,
All right.
Hapatra doesn't typically get in the red zone, but in games like this that get scrappy, it looks pretty impressive. If there wasn't the terminate there, it would generate Caleb quite a bit of advantage.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Like the card is pretty weird, right? Because it's kind of rare that it can attack and actually trigger its ability on opposing creatures. But in the rare case of Duffy Voidwalker, it actually can because Voidwalker cannot block. So you actually get to put the -1/-1 counters on it while Zapatra connects, and then you make the snakes. But otherwise, a pretty rare ability.
Okay. Now the question here is for Caleb. We did talk about, he kind of has to assume that Jesse has a copy of some sort of Undying Effect. Do you play into it? Caleb's going to go ahead and uptick. I think I like that.
Yeah, seems solid. If
I,
you think you can maybe strand Jessie with the Undying Effects in her hand forever, then that sounds okay. And I guess, ooh, yeah, that's a good card. That's a good card to pressure, right? Shield Red here.
Shield Shieldred is definitely good on this board. I was wondering last turn if maybe Jesse wanted to, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe. Oh, right, because of the lane line. I forgot that the lane line messes with the Voidwalker, so there's nothing actually exiled under the Voidwalker, so we can't do that. I was gonna
Yeah,
say you can cast
exactly.
the Grist, but no.
It's the owner of the affected permanent that gets to choose where it goes and how it gets exiled. So we can assume that Caleb is choosing to, get rid of the cards without the any void counters on them.
Jesse is definitely going to go ahead and need to find an answer to the Shieldred. We can talk a Numa. What can we hit? I guess we could hit our own Shieldred. We could hit. Trying to think of what else would really even be good here. Past that,
Well,
not
I
a ton
can
else. Fury.
I can think of one great thing to hit. That would be melee Fury, grab a Fury, and then draw a red card. And then you just go Fury with an Undying Effect. Get rid of
Yep.
Shieldred, get rid of Grist, get rid of a token. Well,
There's
here
the
we
red
go.
card. Perfect.
I
So
guess
yeah,
you
we
can just
got.
attack Grist. That's better than killing it, and then you can just get to sweep the entire battlefield, right?
Gee.
Five on
Yep.
Shieldred and 3 on tokens and Bowmasters. That leaves one Fury versus one Insect token and a Wall of Roots. And of course the Voidwalker.
Yeah, and that Takanuba in Caleb's hand, not really doing much against this Leyline of the Void. So that was a massive sequence here for Jesse.
Yeah. Huge blowout. Big place. Tons of damage.
Very, very big plays. Yeah, kill Shieldred, kill, what do we say, 5. Kill Shieldred, 2 tokens, and the Bowmaster, yeah. And then even if
Using
Caleb.
using Undying Evil to have the Fury untapped, not to drop any, not to bleed any extra life points. Nice.
Yeah, and even if Caleb top decks, I guess maybe a third Grist is probably something he would look towards. We even have that backup, not dead after all, to cover that. And we see a land top deck here that's likely going to do it.
Yeah, no Yawgmoths. Not the greatest draws for Caleb, I think. Like he didn't draw well, the shoulder was really good, but got swiftly countered by this Fury so hard. And right now Caleb is hugely unfavored, but also, just drawing a Yavimaya certainly does him no favors.
Exactly. So we see attack here. Caleb's going to fall to 17. And what do we have here for Caleb? Got a Yawgmoth.
Kinda
It's
late. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
a little
a
bit.
turn before it would have been good.
Right. Yeah, or even like 2 turns ago when we had everything before the Fury came down. But
Mhm.
now, probably a little bit too late here. Can like sack the wall, counter on Dothy. If we draw a blank, we can still proliferate to kill the Dothy, but then there's the not dead after all. So
Seems like we played at Akanuma.
I think Caleb wanted to potentially leave up
Oh, come on.
Port of Calling or something. Well, okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Not bad. This is why they call it scam, right?
Once again, an excellent play, thinning out an extra swamp from the deck, even though the fetch could have been tapped for green with Yavimaya.
Heads up play. That's why we're all here.
Yeah.
All right, we got Caleb floating a mana, likely going to put a counter on the Dothy. I guess a little bit of good-ish news. We get to kill the Dothy while Jesse is tapped out, but I don't think that really matters that much. We're gonna, see an attack for 8. Caleb's gonna fall to 8, and the Damnations are in my deck, not in Caleb's deck, so I don't think we have any outs here.
I'm scanning Caleb's deck for outs, and I see Walking Ballista with X3 as a semi out, but that really leaves him dead in 2 turns still, so doesn't really matter.
We got a chump blocker. That's step 1. Or not.
No, it's not step 1.
That's not step
It's
1.
yeah.